Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode of Open Money, where we feature real people talking about their real personal financial journeys. On this episode, we are speaking with Greg. Greg recently retired from his day job with the government, only to get started on building his second career.
My name is Greg. I am 61 years old and I live in Alabama.
Welcome to the channel. Thanks for doing this.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, what do your numbers look like?
Well, my liabilities, I have a lot of real estate. Real estate is what I mostly invest in. A very small part of my total investments are in the stock market, mostly in retirement accounts. But all of my mortgages, and this includes my primary mortgage, or do you want me to tell you the primary separated from the rental properties?
Maybe separate them out. That might give a better picture.
Okay, my primary mortgage is $153,000, and my rental mortgages, I have 29 doors, so that means 29 renters.
Yeah,
and that is $1,217,000.
that's awesome.
Is what I owe.
That's a little less awesome when it's what you owe.
And so I have credit card debt that I'm in the middle of paying off, which is about $9,000. And that's it. Those are all my liabilities.
Okay. And then what do your assets look like?
Well, that's a little bit longer of a list. I have a self-directed IRA. I have a self-directed Roth IRA. And then I have my TSP plus my current retirement accounts for my current jobs that I have now. So in my self-directed IRA, I have $212,700. In my self-directed Roth, I have $74,900. And in my TSP, my 403B, and my 457 retirement accounts, that's what's in the stock market, is $36,000. And all of those are retirement accounts. And what I do with the SD IRA and the SD Roth IRA is I loan money out to other real estate investors.
Okay.
Or a percentage of when I get my money back.
Yeah.
And so the total of the retirement accounts is $324,500. And so the asset, my primary residence, is $278,000. My rentals are valued at $1.6 million. So my total assets are $2,274,500.
Okay. And if we take out the liabilities, what does that bring you to a net worth?
It brings me to a net worth of $895,900.
That's awesome. So you're very involved in real estate, whether it's lending to others or doing rental properties yourself. Do you want to speak about what got you into that?
Well, I am more comfortable in real estate. Many years ago, I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And at the time, I was living overseas, and all I could do was invest in the stock market. Well, when I came back from overseas, I moved to Vermont. And now I live in Alabama, but I moved to Vermont and I bought my very first property, which was a condo. I paid cash. But when I sold that, I bought a house and I lived in the basement, which they now call house hacking, but I was doing it before then. I lived in the basement and I rented out the top floor of the house. 2 years later, I sold that and bought a duplex in Vermont. And I held that duplex for 18 years. Wow. And I didn't invest in any more real estate at that time. But what I did was I started going to college in Vermont. And I spent the next 18 years going from a high school diploma to a PhD. And so now I'm a doctor. And what I did during that time was buy more real estate after I became a doctor. So everything I own now, I sold Vermont. Everything I own now is in Alabama. So I bought that in the last 4 years.
Wow. In the last 4 years, you said, was it 26 or 27 doors?
I have 29.
29. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. My mistake there. In just 4 years?
Yes. And I only had 6 doors. I retired 2 years ago.
Okay.
and just before COVID started. And I bought, what is it? I have 6 doors now, so that's 23 doors in the last year and a half.
Oh my goodness, you are ramping up.
Yes.
Now, do you have a goal number that you're striving for, or a number of properties?
Well, I do not. My goal is to keep my expenses low, and my income is based on, because I said I have a PhD, I teach at multiple colleges. I have a federal government pension, and I have my rental property income. And I am trying to live just on my federal government pension.
Okay.
And use all of my teaching income and all of my rental income to invest more.
Okay. I guess I gotta rewind a minute. You said that you retired recently. What did you retire from? What was your career?
Well, I was in the IT field in a certain branch of the government.
Okay.
And one of the questions that you asked me, I'm just going to sidetrack here for a second, was what started me on this investment journey. And what started me was that my federal government job, I was demoted and they cut my pay by 30%. This was back when they were shrinking the government.
Gotcha.
And I went out and I started working on my PhD, but I also started a side job, which was a teaching assistant. And ever since then, I've worked multiple jobs.
Wow. I mean, I think that would definitely be a huge motivator to kind of make sure your income stays stable. I can't imagine what that felt like.
Well, it was difficult at first until I realized that I could double my income by teaching in the evenings after work.
That's awesome. Did you teach in IT?
A little bit. My degree is in business. Okay. So a lot of the colleges have me teach a mixture of business and IT. So management of technology and things like that, or just general business topics.
All right.
We can dive into my numbers because I am very frugal. And so, yeah, we can, look at how frugal I am.
Yeah. Tell me about the frugality. I love it.
Well, what I learned when they said they were going to decrease my income was I learned to live on less. And I also learned not to depend on one employer or one stream of income. And so I've had multiple streams of income, and now I have 6 streams of income, even in retirement.
Nice.
And so one of the benefits of being 61 is that at 59, I can do an in-service rollover of my retirement accounts out to my self-directed IRA. So even though I'm teaching still at the schools, I can roll money from my retirement account and invest it in real estate.
I assume you've been doing a lot of that, being that you've bought so many properties recently.
Well, yes. Now, the properties, because of the run-up during the last couple of years, have appreciated in value. My properties are low-cost properties. They're under $100,000 typically. But because their value has gone up, I've been able to use the equity in those properties to buy more properties.
So how did you go from having 6 properties to 29 so quickly?
Well, I used my teaching income as the down payment. Like typically, you can put down 20% down on a rental property. And the local bank that I had here allowed me to put down 15%. And so that's what I did was I'd put down 15%, buy some properties, and then I would use equity from other properties to put down the 15% to buy other properties. So I didn't even have to come out of pocket. One time I bought an 8-unit and I didn't even have to come out of pocket at all.
Okay. So what has your experience as a landlord been like?
Well, now, here's the thing. When I lived in another state before I moved here, I had a couple of properties here because I knew I was going to retire here. And I had a property management company here already. So even though all of these properties are in this same town, I don't manage any of them. I have a property management company. because you are able to write off your property management expenses, your insurance, your interest that you pay on the loans. All of that gets written off your taxes. See, so none of it is a real expense. And I like lowering my taxes. But my pension is $1,500 from the federal government.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I work in multiple colleges, they pay on different schedules, and they assign me different classes throughout the year. So on average, I bring home $4,600.
Okay.
Right? A month. Now, that's not the gross, because some of it I put away to retirement. I have a 22% savings rate.
That's great. I love it.
Well, I want better. In 2023, I'm going for a 90% savings rate.
Okay.
I am going for it.
I bet you can do it.
I had a lot of expenses this year, which brought it down to 22%. But
now I have to ask, the 90% savings rate, is that going to go towards the market, or is that going towards new rental properties?
A mixture of both.
Okay.
For the most part, it is going into my self-directed Roth IRA, so that I can loan the money out to other real estate investors. So although it'll go into the market initially in my 401k or my 403b, I am going to move that money eventually over to a Roth. I'm going to pay the taxes that one time and then never pay taxes again. And so the beauty of this is that a 457 and a 403b are two separate retirement accounts for the IRS. So I can put away $60,000. And that's my plan.
Now, it seems like this real estate avenue is recent. During your working years, I know you said in Vermont you lived in the basement and then had a duplex, but it wasn't really until you were in Alabama and retired that real estate side of things really took hold. During your working years, were you just regularly investing in the stock market? Like, how did your money journey look through those years?
Yes. During my working years for the federal government, I maxed out my TSP.
Okay.
And that was one of the things where I was able, when my wife and I moved here to Alabama, I was able to pull from my TSP and put a large down payment on the house. So we have a lot of equity. We have $125,000 in equity in our retirement home, which lowers our payments. And that was the goal. So the TSP treated me really well. I just do not have a lot in the TSP at the moment, but it's still open.
And you did mention earlier that you and your wife handled finances separately. Have you always done that?
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Because my debts, when my wife and I met, which was 9 years ago.
Okay.
So yes, we sort of met about 9 years ago. And my debts were a lot higher than hers. And so I did not want her saddled with my debts.
Does that seem to work for you guys? I know a lot of people have differing opinions on the yours, mine, and ours approach. I myself, my husband and I, we follow the yours, mine, ours approach. It works great for us. Do you think it makes it so neither of you are fully invested in the relationship or anything?
Well, I don't think that it's that. As one of your interviewees said, my wife does not have any interest in the financial part like me. I have spreadsheets upon spreadsheets upon spreadsheets. And my wife, she has her pension. And so once we put the money into the house account, she spends her pension however she wants to. And I spend my money building, hopefully, a future that my goal is to make sure if anything happens to me, my wife is taken care of.
Yeah.
That is my goal. And also now we are going to start traveling and using the rental income to fund our lifestyle.
Okay. Do you feel like you guys are still on the same page financially?
We are to some extent. You know, again, she doesn't care about the money part, right?
It's
I
hard
do.
for me to wrap my head around someone not caring. I know people say it, but I'm just like, that's just not me.
Well, yeah, and long story short, 30 years ago, now let me get my numbers correct. 36 years ago in January, I was sitting in a homeless shelter. And so my drive financially is to make sure I'm never sitting in a homeless shelter again.
Oh my goodness. Can you speak to that journey from a homeless shelter to where you are now, close to $1 million net worth?
Well, it has been a long journey. It's been 35 years. Um, and what happened was when I got out of the homeless shelter, I started making better decisions. And one job led to another job, which led me to living overseas.
Okay.
Right. And what they told me when I was living overseas, because you don't pay taxes when you're living overseas, right? They said, buy dirt. They said, and education and dirt are the two things no one can ever take away from you.
Yeah.
And so I came back and I got an education and I started buying dirt.
Well, it seems to have worked out well.
Yes, I followed their advice. Once I had property management, right, it made the process so much easier. It frees up my time, right? I have all these properties right here in my town, right?
Yeah.
And I don't worry about them. I teach. That's what I do. I teach every day. The property management company handles the properties. If there's repairs, if there's anything going on, people not paying, my property management company deals with that.
Okay.
And so I am the worst property manager person you would ever want to meet. And so I had to learn that lesson.
Yeah.
You know, I'll never do it. Even if it's right next door, I would never.
Okay. I mean, that makes a huge difference, what would you say percentage wise the property management team takes?
Well, they get 10%
Okay.
of the rent.
Yeah.
Some property management companies would charge like to put a tenant in place. They might charge a half a month's rent or something like that. So mine does not. It's just a straight 10%.
Anything particular you want to add?
Well, I would like to add that I wish that money was not such a taboo topic. And
Yeah, I
you
agree with
talked
that.
about that before.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of finance YouTubers, and of course, I watch your channel and have been for years. But I think that money is a taboo topic.
I think so too, and I wish it wasn't. Like, I understand that I think it's because a lot of people associate like a person's value with a dollar amount, and I think that's absolutely absurd. There's no way in which that can be correct, but I don't know otherwise why it would be taboo besides that.
That is true. I think that is it self-worth, self-esteem is attached to a net worth, right? And for me, it's not about the net worth because I don't know if I want to try to get to 10 million by the time I'm 70 and then say, shut it down. I have friends that ask me, right? And they have a lot more money than me.
Yeah.
They say, Greg, you don't need this amount of money. You know, why do you need, let's say, $10,000 a month coming in? Because your expenses are so low.
Yep.
And I don't. At this point, I don't have a future goal of $10 million net worth or $10,000 a month coming in. If I sold or if I paid off all of my rentals, I would bring in $15,000 a month.
Okay.
I mean, that is just, it's more than I need.
Yeah.
Right. But I want my wife and I to be able to enjoy life. I just want us to be able to travel or do whatever we wish to do while I'm still young, even though I know I'm 61.
Yeah. But it's how you feel, if you feel like you're capable of doing whatever, getting on a plane, going on a hike, like doing all those things, you're young, you feel good, that's what matters as long as you got your health. Well, I really appreciate you doing this and I want to thank you for your time.
Well, I want to thank you. And I love your channel, just so you know.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. If you would like to be part of the Open Money series to help normalize how everyone's journey with finances is different, how everyone handles their finances differently, to normalize talking about money, I would love to feature you. Just send me an email at erintalksmoney@gmail.com and we'll get it set up. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I hope you have a great one. I'll see you soon. Bye.
So one of the things that I wanted to share is that my greatest passion is every Friday, I go out into my community and take food to the needy and the homeless so that I can never forget that I used to be homeless myself.
That's incredible. I love that you still do that.